Hi listener, just a quick little thing to say before this episode, which is really only relevant to people who are involved with our church, St John's. We just want to acknowledge really that there have been some very difficult conversations about where the church stands on certain issues. We talked about whether we should address this stuff directly on the podcast, and right now we don't see how we could do it in a safe and loving way. This podcast would essentially be a platform for us to air our individual views with no fair right of reply. So what we'd like to do for now is acknowledge that this thing's going on, and to say that if you're hurting over this stuff, or just want to chat about it, we'd love to talk to you, not to make a podcast, just to talk. So do email us on justicewarriors@artificialworlds.net or chat to us in real life.
Hello listener, and welcome back to Justice Warriors Readings. This is episode 2. These are just short episodes of reading out something that I think might be something you'd be interested in listening to. Don't worry, normal episodes will also be coming out, although probably less frequently than these because these are shorter to record and based on existing material that I've already got. As I mentioned last time, if you have pieces of writing that either you've been meaning to get round to writing and haven't done yet, or that you wrote at some point and you think might be interesting to Justice Warriors listeners, I really would like to read them. I'm not saying I'll definitely add them to the feed. I'd love to see them, or I'd love to hear them. I'd love to hear your recording of them. So please send them in, and then maybe it's something that we would put into one of these episodes. Anyway, so by the way, those that could be prose. It could be some thoughts about the way theology works in your life or in our life as a society. It could be poems, it could be prayers. Last time we had a prayer, this time we have a poem. The poem is by me, and it's called Whitewashed, and it is a very angry poem. It really represents me dealing with feelings that the young me grew up with a very harmful religion. At some point maybe we could talk about whose fault that was, if that's even important. Maybe I heard stuff that wasn't being said, or maybe I took stuff more seriously than it was meant. I know that there were plenty of people around me who were also are also troubled by these ideas. So there's something there. It's not entirely made up in my head. But yeah, so I'll offer this to you. I don't know. Maybe you'll just feel glad that you don't have this bitterness inside you, or maybe you'll see something of it in your experience or something different, but it will some way wake that up. By the way, if this is a really traumatic subject for you, please just don't listen and try a different episode, or make sure you've got someone to talk to or someone to be with you while you're listening. Please take care of yourself. This is a very angry poem about the restrictions put on us by an angry God who really doesn't like people. And that's so far from what I try now to understand as God. If there is a thing that fits that word. But yeah, when I'm reaching for something or someone full of love and compassion and acceptance, a lot of that desire is formed by this really negative experience of this angry God, this hateful God that somehow grew in my head, which I don't think is real, but was so real for me, and sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes is really real for me now. So yeah, here's a poem. It's called Whitewashed. My God, the whitewashed tomb hates you and will torture you for eternity, growing you new fingernails for every one he rips out. My God, the marble statue, demands purity. So even those who fit his awkward mould are miserable in its pressing grip. My God, the whitewashed tomb, thinks like me, distastefully donning plastic gloves before handling this filthy world. My God, the whitewashed tomb, loves me. He will pluck me from this goddamned place and put me in a jar to watch it burn. There will be no contaminants to dirty me. There will be no air in there, but I will not suffocate. My God will be sufficient for me. So there's stuff in there about the way this angry God is weaponized by people with power and control. The fear, it starts with fear and talking about being tortured for eternity. It goes on to this God who is hard like marble and crushes everyone. Then it goes on to the power, the abuse of power. This God thinks like me and considers you dirty and filthy and awful. And it continues with this idea that the Christian will be plucked from the world and then the world will burn. And the kind of lack of responsibility for our world and for each other that gives us, that the idea that people will be thrown away because God has kind of run out of love for them. And finally it ends with this idea that we'll be in this jar while all this is going on. And there's this kind of foolish faith that even though there's no air, I won't suffocate. And that for me expresses something of the personal crushing of myself that I feel from this oppressive mindset. So even the person who is kind of supposed to be the beneficiary and safe with their God, this awful, horrible God, is actually crushed in this grip and suffocating in this jar that is the wrong shape for them. Even the people who are superficially about the right shape for it. And in that I'm thinking about, people who just, like me, who just fit with, like society's stereotypes of what people should be like. It's still crushing for someone like that. I still feel that my ideas of who I can be and how I can live are kind of under this oppression from this sense of God's anger and the need to fit perfectly and never stray. And it's so opposed to what I believe now, that God wants us, or that whatever the God type thing is, wants us to flourish and be different from each other and surprising and new, and wants us to change and not be crushed into shape. But boy, do I still feel that anger, do I still feel that oppression. And I'm trying to escape, I'm trying to figure out how to accept this different God that I now believe in. I'm reaching for that compassionate and open, loving person who is interested in being curious and not angry with every deviation or everything that doesn't quite fit. So, I guess I want to encourage you that I'm trying to believe in that good, loving, accepting God. Because, what on earth are we doing otherwise? And so maybe maybe give yourself a moment to recognize that's how God really is, if you believe that. And I will try to do the same. Hope you enjoyed. See you next time.